substance of the war, the pros and cons of fighting on. Bring us up to date. Give us a sense. I know it's a big question, but give us a sense of where the war actually stands. Ukraine has lost some ground recently. There are signs of Russia advancing in some areas. The tipping point seems to be Ukraine's dire shortage of ammunition and longer range missile weaponry.
Yeah, that's correct, Jonah. I think, to quote Vladimir Zelensky, Russia has won the winter, which is a good way of summing it up. It hasn't had an operational level breakthrough. It's not really how it's been fighting recently. And it's hard to achieve a breakthrough to mass for it in secret because there's so much surveillance with drones and satellites, etc. these days. So the defensive form of warfare is ascendant. It's hard to break through, but within that paradigm, the initiative, the momentum is with Russia at the moment. There's been this time lag of the Western aid coming in. It should have started coming in September, October, and Russia essentially put its economy on a 75% war footing. It's starting to churn out stuff in terms of military equipment and get into a groove militarily. It's also learning. It's starting to learn, which it wasn't doing in the early stages of the war. So the Ukrainians are under pressure, but it hasn't broken yet. And the question is, can the Russians mass and break through somewhere in the coming months or not? But they are putting them under pressure. On the plus side for the Ukrainians, they basically destroyed or damaged a lot of the Black Sea fleet, forced the commander to be relieved, and they're getting the grain out from the south, which is good. They've seemed to push forward air defense assets and taken out a lot of Russian fighters and other strategically valuable aircraft recently. They may have, though, lost some Patriots, I'm reading recently, as a result of doing that, and they're highly valuable too. So the Russians are getting into a better targeting loop. As it were, tightening that time. So it's hanging in
winnable.
Well, of course, tensions exist, and they will always exist in a society which is in the war, because on the one hand, you have a big consolidation of the society, but on the other hand, you definitely have all these cracks within the society that you just described, because everything depends on the level of personal investment and personal sacrifice. And of course, this is very different depending on the family, depending on a personality. But frankly speaking, I don't see that fatigue and that exhaustion that sometimes is like imposed on Ukraine or present in some foreign capitals when people are talking about this fatigue. I see the decisiveness of the Ukrainian society. I see the readiness of the people who are not on the front line to contribute with their resources, with their time, with their volunteering work for the victory. And I personally just can testify that we are doing a lot of volunteer work to help the army as civilians, and I don't find any problems when I, for example, try to get donations from the people. Now, coming back to this war question, we need to understand very, very clearly that Russia can say, of course, that let's negotiate.